Jai Jinendra, everyone. So, as you can see on the opening slide, faith, philosophy, science, and self is the topic for today's lecture. Before I invite Anubhav Bhaiya to start the lecture, who will be taking this lecture and the series in the coming sessions as well, let me just shortly introduce you all with Anubhav Bhaiya and then he can start the lecture. So, Shri Anubhav Jain is a distinguished scholar, widely recognized for his inspirational and insightful lectures. With a unique ability to simplify complex concepts, he effectively engages his audience, making learning both enriching and accessible. Beyond his academic contributions, he is actively involved in social initiatives and serves as the founder of ABOD, the Arham Body of Divinity and Excellence, which is an institution dedicated to holistic education and spiritual development. He is also a chartered accountant, holds a Master's of Business Administration from IIM Indore, and is a certified Jainism scholar from Tirtha Mangalayatan, Aligarh. I hope this introduction is enough. Apart from this, you can have a sense of his lecture. And Anubhav Bhaiya, please.
Thank you, Harshilji, for such humbling introduction. Let's start today's session, which reads as Faith, Philosophy, Science, and Self. And what we're trying to do in this lecture is nothing sort of as if a ripple is challenging the ocean with a very, very, very little knowledge. We are questioning the real, this whole reality, this whole cosmos, which stands so in its immense vastness, it stands in before us. So today we are going to delve deep into faith, philosophy, science, and self perspectives. But before that, let's start with Manglacharan. We'll do Manglacharan of this journey. Namo Arhantaram, Namo Siddharam, Namo Ayariyadam, Namo Uvachayadam, Namo Loe Savasahudam, Moksha Margasya Nitaram, Bhektaram Karmukhupratam, Kyataram Vishwatattvanam, Vande Tatgunilabdhaye, Vande Tatgunilabdhaye, Vande Tatgunilabdhaye. So, the topic before us is faith, philosophy, science, and self. And these four words, I'm sure there is nobody present over here who does not know the meaning of these four words. These are very simple, very common words. Faith is what we believe. Philosophy is how we contemplate our reality around us. Science is the subject that we don't like to study. Or science is something which is experimenting and giving us bad and really hard challenging times right from the school times, right? So science is something which is busy in the study of this whole cosmos, the material world, and the self is no one other than ourselves who are trying to jump between these faith, philosophy, science to make sense of this world, sense of this life. So, why do we even talk about these things? Why are we even here present to talk about faith, science, philosophy, and self? What pleasure do we get out of talking about these things? Why so many of us have joined here? What is that one thing that we are after? So now the very plain and very simple and very realistic answer to that is in this platform's name itself. And the name is Jeev. The very problem that we have so many questions, so many curiosities taking birth, so many ripples having in the ocean of our hearts, why it is happening that we're always filled with questions, we're always filled with doubts. There are so many things that we're always seeking answers of, the reasons that we do not understand why things are happening to us, around us. So the reason is that we have so much respect for science, we have so much respect for philosophy and faith. is because we are Jeeves. We are conscious beings. We have this very unique ability to perceive, to know. And because we can perceive and know, we can know everything. And knowing does not stop there. This knowing does not stops at knowing, just like the projection that the mirror gives you, the reflection that the mirror gives you. Mirror reflects your face, and that's it. The job of mirror ends then and there. But with gyan, with knowledge, with consciousness, it is not the case. The problem with Jeev is that it does not only know, it also feels what it knows. So we can feel. And when we feel, the feelings have wide range of experiences. We have good experiences, we have great experiences, but then we have bad experiences and even worse experiences. And the thing about experiences is that, you cannot ignore the bad experiences because you do not want them. And you always yearn for having good and better experiences than you're already having right now. So everybody is looking for a better life, no matter at what graph they stand on. They may be, very well settled. They must be having all the luxuries of life. Still, they're still looking for something more, much better than what it is, right? So Jeev has this unique quality of knowing, and that knowing is not raw. Knowing is not, dried up thing. It is actually filled with experiences. I can feel, and because I can feel both miseries, sorrows, as well as happiness and joy. And I don't know why, but it is such the nature of myself that I'm always trying to travel from miseries towards joy. It's never the case which is opposite. It's not the case ever that I'm very happy and now I say to myself that, okay, it's enough. Now I want to be sad. Nobody wants to be sad. Nobody wants to be unhappy. Everybody wants happiness. And that's what brings us to the topics like science, spirituality, philosophy, and faith. Why? Because we're always seeking happiness, and happiness is not so easy to find. Despite knowing that we control most part of our lives, we control our family, we control our finances, we control this body, we control the jobs we do, the businesses we do. We think we control so many things of our lives, and yet, despite having all these things, when we return back to our homes and sit back and then we contemplate what went by the whole day, we realize we did everything. We did our best. We put everything that we had gotten, and yet it is missing. There's something which is missing always, always. And it's not with those who are living, a life of very minimum resources. It is the same case with those who have everything that they need. Their house is full of things that people, literally yearn for. I'm looking for a luxurious house. My kitchen must be full of all the delicacies. My house should be such comforting place that, I do not want to even move out, go out, even to the gardens, to the other places where people seek joys from. I can have everything, and I assume that I have control of over most of the things that I have in my life. But the only one problem is I do not find myself comfortable with this notion of controlling my own happiness. It's such a pity. It's such a sad thing. A being, the self, which knows everything, which knows the reasoning, which knows the causation, which knows the cause and effects, logics, reasoning, everything, all in literature, all in theory, all in laboratories, all in research papers. Yet we find so incapable ourselves, we find ourselves being so incapable of making our own selves happy. And that brings us to find meaning, to find purpose in our lives. And so we move to these four great words. One is faith. Faith is something's very strong belief that, complete trust or confidence in something or someone. So, generally in English tradition, in English language, the faith is generally used as synonymous as some religion. But, when we we Indians, we always try to translate words from Hindi to English. So we in Hindi we call it Vishwas, we call it Shraddha, and then we translate it to English and we call it faith. So faith is a very strong word. The little mild version of faith would be belief, right? To believe in something. So when we believe strongly, that's called faith. What is philosophy? Philosophy is the study of the any of the branches of anything. If we're trying to study about the fundamental nature of knowledge or reality or existence, it has to be structured. We are studying about some branch of knowledge, some branch of reality, whatever it is. We are trying to make connections from one dot to another to making the whole thing as a diagram, which makes sense. Then all the points, all the intellectual points, when we combine them to make a complete picture, we call it philosophy. Science is the systematic study, more refined. Philosophy may use reason, philosophy may use projections. It might not have evidences for everything that it says, but because it feels very strongly, so it says that it must be like this, just like, we say that karmas exist. But then, have you seen any of the karmas? Has anybody seen karmas? Nobody. All the Indian traditions are believing in karma. Tit for tat. What goes around comes around. Everybody is saying all these things. People are talking about positivity. People are talking about vibrations. People are talking about the law of attraction. All those things. But if we ask for proofs, nobody has seen karmas. Nobody has seen energies in the way that we are contemplating them. So that is philosophy. But science says that when it is talking about gravity, we have all the algorithm, we have all the equations that are in place which explain what gravity is. And because of that, our world is functioning and advancing so well in the scientific aspect of it. So science is systematic study, structured, and it is mostly dealing with the nature of the physical world. What is self? Now, this is one thing that everybody is least concerned about. And the surprising thing is that it all begins with it. Right? I'll share one story. So what happened? There was a room filled with cages, golden cages. All those cages caged were very small birds who just took birth, right? And all those birds were wondering that what are these wings for? And why at this time of the day we see two hands with food that are entering into these cages. And then we get food. Who is giving us the food? They see the bars, they see all the lock that is there on the cage. They try to see everything and they just wonder that why are we here? What did we do? It does not make sense. Whose hands do we see every morning? Who, what this thing that which looks like a lock, what is it? So all these birds starts chirping and they start their discussion that what must be it? Like we must investigate. So they had the curiosity that who put us in such a cage and we can feel wings, but we do not really get why these wings are for because even if I flap my wings, I fly to nowhere because there is no sky. Oh wait, because there are wings, is there a sky? Is there somewhere that people can fly to where these wings can be used for, literal use? They start thinking and they start making sense of the reality that they have. They start thinking about the bars, the quality, the strength of those bars. And with their beak, they try to hit those bars and see, okay, there are scratches that are coming out. They can see that bars are bit tilting away from each other. They see the locks. They see that, okay, this lock, if I see it, it has, it's very strong, but even with our beaks, we can do something to this lock as well. It has some hole in which we don't know, something must be going inside. So they start learning about the type of metal that has been used in the cage. They start learning about the exact timing when the food comes. When it comes, the hands have bangles at that time or rings at that time. They get to know, okay, today, it's been 3 days now. Today, not the seeds will not come. Today, we might get some fruits. They've started calculating it, right? How come are they doing this? And then they all together in separated in their own cages. They keep on talking and they develop these signs. They understand that, okay, how strong your cage is, how old your cage is. And they're talking and they've started writing papers. They're discussing on the companies that made the locks. They're discussing about everything and they're so obsessed. The wisest of those birds is also getting the awards like Nobel Prize and discovery, in path-breaking discovery about all the birds. Everything is happening. Everybody's clapping. Yeah, great, 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 great. Such intelligent bird. You know what happened? They started researching. They started this great tradition of sharing knowledge. They started experimenting. They started scientific discovery. But in this whole haste, they forgot why did they even start? They started because they were caged. And they were literally dying to get out of this cage. They wanted to make sense that what are these wings for? Why do we have wings? And when we have wings, why can't we have that sky? But in the greed of knowledge, the original question got killed. That is what is happening with us, with all of us. We are so much after the knowledge, so obsessed with science, so obsessed with different branches of philosophy. You talk about different faiths, we'll talk about it. But in this discourse, what gets behind is the self, the original question. Why are we here? When I can know, and there is so much to know, such great sky of all the things that can be known, then why I'm not using my wings of knowledge? Why am I confined to this limited knowledge about this country, about this city, about this textbook, about this particular topic? Why? Just like the birds have wings, I have knowledge. And just like there is open sky, endless for birds, for their wings to fly, do I also have great sky of such great cosmos to know everything? And yet I'm confined in my own cage of this body. So this inquiry of the self, this basic problem that self was not happy, it was having unpleasant experiences. So it questioned, is there out? Is there a way I can make myself happy? And we started this inquiry. We started questioning. We developed philosophy. When we had some ideas, some reasoning, some logics, we took them to the laboratories. We developed science. And when scientific discoveries and philosophy, they were in tandem. We created our own beliefs. We created our faiths. But then later, what happened? We started debating whose scientific paper is best, which faith is best, which religion is best. So everybody is now busy advertising their religion, advertising their research papers, telling world about what they have found out, and nobody is bothered about the original fundamental question that how will we become happy? I am I am the being which knows. I am Jeev. My whole life is knowing. And yeah, and when I know, I experience, and I experience in wide ranges of experiences. I experience joy, I experience sorrows, and I don't like to experience sorrows. I don't want to experience sorrows. Is there a way I can train my knowledge? I can train my gyan to know in such a way that I can be happy. If we master that art, then we won't be needing any faith, any science, any philosophy. But because we got misguided by our own greed to know more, we have developed these three different branches, and the all fight in today's world is about these three. So, first, just let's have a brief look on how it works. So, who is there? There is self. The first person in this problem, in this story, is the master of our stories is me. And I am filled with questions. And the most important question is of that of suffering. Why am I not happy? And how can I be happy? How can I let go of this suffering? And so I start the inquiry. And for inquiry, initially, I use the best sources that I have. So, what do I have? I have reason, I have logic. I start contemplating what must be the reason why it happened. And when I use the logic alone, then what I craft is called philosophy, that I choose a way of life. I believe this, I believe this. That's what we do. So, if I ask you that, there are so many rats in your house and they are, literally spoiling everything, your clothes, your food. So why don't you buy some poison from the market and kill those rats? It's so easy. Will you be able to do that? It's so simple, right? People do it all the time. But no, you'll have that patience. Let them spoil some more. If we can catch them, we'll catch them and we'll leave them very much alive outside our houses. But we'll not dare to kill those rats. And it's so simple. Nobody will, take us to a jail if we kill a rat. It's not a crime. Literally, they are advertising how to kill cockroaches, how to kill rats, how to kill germs. It's legal. It's legal. But you will not. Why will you not? Because the reason that you have developed, that, if somebody hits me, I feel really bad. And this rat very much looks alive. It must also be experiencing the same thing. I do not want to cause harm to any living being. This is what the philosophy you chose for yourself, and it generated out of the reasoning that you gave yourself to, right? Correct. We advance more, we get more resources, then we take another step. We try to seek for evidences what we say. We go to the laboratories and try to find out what is exactly happening. So we seek out for evidences, and when we get evidences for our reasons, for our beliefs, that same philosophy gets converted into science. But this philosophy, which is not tested but looks logical to us, reasonable to us, and science which is tested and which supports the philosophy. These two branches standalone cannot do anything. They all converge into one thing. They create a belief system. They create the faith which we believe, and it is that faith with which we lead our lives. So, the most important thing is what you believe, what you think, and that should always come from reason and evidences. If it is not coming from reasons and evidences, it's not called faith, it's called blind faith. We call it blind faith. And the disasters that this blind faith does, I'll tell you a few case studies. I think you guys, when you go back from this session, you just Google it up, whatever is being shown over here. I've also put up some links that you can find details about these things. All that you see in this picture are the dead bodies, about 900 people. You know what they did? They together drank cyanide together because their guru told them to do so. So it's Johnstown Massacre, 1978. And it happened not very long ago. It happened about 50 years back. 900 followers on one command of their guru, of their cult. He said, okay, it's time that we surrender ourselves to the greater will of God. And everybody together drank cyanide and everybody got their salvation. That's what faith does. When you do not test your faith, your belief, your master can make you do anything. Stupidest of the things. Here's another story. It's Heaven's Gate cult. You read about it. About 39 people were made to believe by this gentleman that, okay, you guys are not humans, you're superhumans, and you are caged inside human body. And I am here to take you out of this body. And he again gave them poison mixed with apple juice. And 39 people committed suicide so that, an UFO would come and take their souls to a different planet where they actually belong. This person convinced those people. Why? Because faith is such delicate thing. Our whole existence depends on this faith. Simple. We will do anything. If somebody tells me that, okay, I'm giving you one small insect, they put one small insect on a palm and they tell you that, okay, you kill it and I'm going to give you $100. 1 lakh rupees. How many of you, no matter how much in dire need you are of that money, I don't think you'll be able to crush that little soul because your faith does not allow you to do so. Faith is a very dangerous thing to play with. And if You are not taking charge of your faith. Somebody else will put you in such great soup. We'll never realize. And therefore, Jain philosophy starts with this one, the most beautiful, the most fundamental thing. The Jainism starts whenever you go to any Jain temple, you look around, you will find this line written somewhere in some wall of the temple. And this one line is what we should all keep by heart, and which is Dansan Mulo Dhammo. Dansan means darshan, means belief, means faith, is the root of dharma. Nothing starts without faith. If you cannot believe, you cannot proceed with dharma. And because belief is such prestigious thing, such pristine, the faith, it becomes our utmost responsibility that we keep our faith in check. It's our responsibility. It's not the responsibility of our parents. It's not the responsibility of our friends, our family, our teachers. Nobody else's responsibility is this. We are responsible for what we believe in. And what we believe in decides our destiny. Because we have seen people jumping off the cliff so that they can reach the salvation. There is a ghat in Banaras. Okay? So you go to Varanasi, there is a ghat uh, uh, on the sides of Ganges. You see ghats, and there is one ghat where they promise that there will be some people, some pandits, and they will take some money from you, prasadam, of course, guru dakshina kind of, and they will guarantee they'll push you down off the cliff, and you directly end up inside Ganga River, right? And then you instantly get eaten by all the great fish and crocodiles and everybody, and you instantly die. But when you open your eyes, now you are in heaven. So that cliff takes you directly to the heaven. People used to go. You can search about it. People used to. Now it's banned by the government, of course, because it was very obvious that jumping somebody off a cliff is not a right way of practicing dharma. But people with all their brains literally believe that their gates to salvation comes from jumping off the cliff into the river and getting eaten by the animals. So faith, belief, darshan, shraddha, all these things are synonymous. And the most important thing for us in this ice-breaking session is that what we are going to talk about in the coming two sessions is that how pristine and how delicate our faith is, our darshan is. And without preserving our darshan, without molding it in its righteous form, we cannot even start into the path to self discovery, into the path to the salvation, to the real happiness. Right? So, Dansan Mulo Dhammo, this is the first thing that we all have to learn. And this faith often, people have started seeing faith in very bad light. In today's era, it's not very fashionable to be religious, right? Yeah, if you're scientific, very cool, hands up, right? But if you're religious, you are a little bit downridden, you're a bit backward in your thinking, might be old school thoughts, whatever, right? And faith, particularly, is not doing really well on world stage, this very word. People actually are abhorring faith because faith kills, literally. People to preserve their faith, they become terrorists. People to, spread their faith, they take up swords in their hands and they start killing people. Either you accept their faith or you die. So faith actually is a very, very disastrous thing if it is not righteous, if it is not checked, if it is not preserved well, trained well. And therefore, for us, the faith alone becomes the single most important thing. Therefore, Jain Acharyas always say that nothing starts without Samyak Darshan. Samyak Darshan is the first step. The righteous faith is the first step, into the path to the happiness, to salvation, right? Then what about science? The only problem with science is that it is too obsessed with material world. How is it obsessed? Let's just quickly do. two examples. Can you see a rectangular block inside in the slide, right? It has gradient. You can see, towards the left, it's a little bit whitish, and towards the right, it is a bit, darker, right? Here, it's a bit darker, and here you can see it's a bit light, right? You can see the gradient in this image, right? You know what? What you're seeing is not right. If I remove the background, it's just plain gray bar. It does not have two colors. There was no white, there was no gray, there was just gray. I'll do it again. Same bar, focus on the same bar. It looks that it's a bit grayish on the towards the right and a bit whitish towards the left. It looks like so, right? But if you remove the background, it's simple one colored bar. What you perceive with your senses, it cannot be tested because your senses are telling you very much that it has, it's green, it has gradient. It's not one color. It has range of colors from white till gray, but in reality, it's just gray. Let's do one more thing, right? So you can see this lady. She is, peeping, inside. Like, can you see? It's a plain floor or it's a hole in the floor. It looks like there is hole, but it's not. It's just optical illusion. The problem with science is that it does not want to believe beyond the limited capacity of the senses, the human senses. And the senses are not trustworthy. What senses do, they put matter over mind. But in reality, the reality is mind over matter. And there is very famous concept in science of placebo effect. I'm sure you must have heard about it. What is placebo effect? It says that, if you're sick, very sick, and you're really looking to be, all right, and you approach a doctor and the doctor does not have medicine, you know what the doctor can do? He can literally hand over to you and hand over you he can literally hand over you some simple sugar pills, simple sugar pills. You'll call them, okay, something, he must have done something. It's simple, and he'll tell you that, okay, have these, you'll be all right. There is nothing in those pills, there is no medicine, but you think I'm taking the medicine, and to our wonder we actually begin to get, recovered from that fever. That's called placebo effect. And that's where the science, crumbles. It says, yeah, I do not understand it. In one place, we say that you need to take medicine to be cured. And if somebody fools me and gives me not the medicine, but tells that it is medicine, and I still get cured, then it's not the medicine that is curing me. Science is very much confused because mind over matter. You can change your reality based on your mind, based on your perception. It's not the reality that is shaped by the reality which shapes the perception. It's the perception that shapes the reality. But science is yet to discover it. It's studying all those aspects of mind. But science has very limited audience. It can only cater to the material world. But one more time, let's knock the door of the initial problem. Our problem was not the material world. We had a very genuine problem that I am unhappy. And if you give me a world class facility, a house filled with world class facilities, you give me advanced modes of transportation, you take me to Mars, you take me to Moon, you give me everything, but you do not give me happiness, then what do I do with all those things? So science is just trying to hide its incapability behind its inventions. So every year it launches a new phone. Every year its cars will auto drive themselves. Every year it will launch something like ChatGPT, some robotics, something good. They will start making colonies in Mars. They will do everything to stop us from asking the basic question, why don't you give me happiness? Because it does not have the answer. But if we realize that it does not have the answer, all the material world will collapse. Who will buy their cars? Who will buy their innovations? All the research and expenditure they are doing in R&D, who will pay for that? And therefore, this belief, this blind faith of ours in all these inventions is sustained so that world could function at the cost of our happiness. what
Panditji,
they're
can I
trying
ask a
to.
question?
We'll start the
Yeah,
question answer session in like 2 minutes. So let
Okay,
the
yes,
mic.
okay.
two minutes. I'll just conclude for today. So
Yes.
we'll just conclude this today's session with this one thought. Acharya Umaswamy Dev gave the definition of right, like path to happiness. We call it moksha marg in the first sutra of the Tvar Sutra, which is Samyak Darshan Gyan Charitrani Moksha Marga. It's the right belief that leads to correct knowledge, and it's the correct knowledge that leads to the righteous conduct. And the unity of these three, righteous faith, right knowledge, and right conduct, is called the moksha, is called the path to happiness. So that's all what we try to, what in the coming session, in coming two session, we'll try to further talk about what blind faith does and what is righteous faith. We'll be talking about the right form of knowledge that originates by understanding right with the philosophy. And if we get both things right, then we can enter into the dissection of science and how it can help us in making our conduct better and thus making us taking us to a happier place. Thank you. I'll stop here.
Thank you so much, Anubhav Bhaiya, for this very beautiful explanation of faith, philosophy, science, and self. Even the examples were very supportive and easily relatable to what we study in science and related here. Now our platform is open for question answers. Yeah, I guess we had one person who was asking the question. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Hi, this is Vismay Shah. Panditji, thank you very much for having a session in English because language was a key barrier for today's times. And when we were learning things in Sanskrit language or a Hindi language, which is far beyond what we have learned, I think this is the right way to proceed our religion forward by having a language which is universally accepted and then laying out terms in that language as well. So thank you very much for having this session. My question was with regards to faith and science when we were saying, I mean, we all have learned that science has proven examples and, it tells us a cause and effect relationship. And that is the reason why we believe in science, and it is the advanced form of human intellect. Now, when we say faith and righteous faith, how do we determine that the faith is righteous before understanding the cause and effect relationship?
Wonderful question, very beautifully put. I'll start with this whole debate first, right? This whole debate between faith versus science. It is not an Indian debate, not in Indian context. This debate has risen from the West because initially the fundamentals, what they used to believe were the fundamentals of Christianity and other religions, the Abrahamic traditions, it was just the doctrine that the god said and they had to believe. And later on, when Galileo and everybody else started writing papers, it was going against the will of churches because people will get in disbelief. So there was literally a war that
वो
wrecked
तो
out
दोनों बिल में जाते
between faith, hello, between faith and science. People started seeing science as enemy to faith, because if everybody will start believing in science, if I believe in big bang, then how will I know that god has created me? In Indian context, it was never the case. When you read about the Shad Darshana, the underlying doctrine of Shad Darshana is logic. They talk on Nyaya. Though we call that, okay, Brahma has created the world, Vishnu is sustaining it, and the Mahesh will destroy it. But these are all metaphorical representation of the logic. Utpad Vetrope, what in Jain philosophy we call it. That the Vastu, the substance itself creates itself, and then it sustains it, and then it changes over time. So Utpad Vetrope. So, in Indian context, the science is never against faith.
Anubhav Bhaiya, you have to unmute yourself.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So I don't know where I got unmuted. I just retell you what I was saying. So in Indian tradition, it was never about science versus faith. because we were very open, very open. We had, literally, we had bells in front of the schools of philosophies, and anybody could go and, knock on the door and say, okay, I want to have debate. I do not agree with you. And they would come out, and the village will and they see so if you give us
Sorry, some problem with the network. I
we are just so obsessed with
sorry, I think some problem with the network. Is it?
He's rejoining. He's rejoining.
भैया क्लास की रिकॉर्डिंग ग्रुप में डाल देना।
जय जिनेन्द्र, which group are you in? जिसको रिकॉर्डिंग चाहिए वो कौन से ग्रुप में है?
I'm sorry I dropped out. I don't know.
Yeah, we can continue.
Yeah. Yeah. So therefore, it is not the question of science versus faith. It's science and faith. They both in working in tandem. Therefore, we are saying Samyak Darshan, Samyak Gyan, and Samyak Charitra. Science is Gyan, faith is Darshan, and they both are leading to the right conduct, which will make us happy. Okay, I hope I have answered your question. Sorry for the disruption.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Any other question?
We have Mahendra uncle also. Mahendra uncle, you can ask your question. You can
Unmute yourself.
Hello.
Meanwhile, if anybody else has a question,
No. Are you hearing? Hello. Are you hearing, sir?
Yes, yes, yes. Please go ahead.
Are you hearing?
yes,
Hello.
yes,
Hello,
we can
my
hear
name
you.
is Mahendra Mehta. Yes.
Ji.
Actually, you have told one that Darshan Mulo Dhammo is a root of the religion, root of Dharma. So kindly throw the light on this particular subject, Hello. My question was understood or you heard the question?
Can you repeat your question? I guess it's related to Dansad Mulo Dhammo.
My question is that in this particular discussion, Anubhav Bhaiya told that Danshan Mulo Dhammo is the root of the Dharma, the root of the religion. So kindly throw the light on the basic principle of the religion.
Anubhav Bhaiya, he's asking to throw some light on this topic that Dansad Mulo Dhammo is the root.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. In the next session, we're going to start with Dansar Mulo Dhammo only. because the next session and like it starts from there only. We just have introduced, it was just ice breaking session that what we're talking about and what the actual problem in front of us is. So how to contemplate darshan, what is faith, what is samyak darshan, and how to not fall into the trap of mithya darshan, grahit or agrahit. That is what we'll be looking at in detail in the next section. Okay.
Any other
Okay,
question?
sir. Thank you.
I have a question.
Haji, Prashaji. Yeah.
What is the real step to go for happiness means?
Uh, that's what Samyak Darshan, Gyan, and Charitra. The unity of these three is the path that takes us to happiness. So first we have to make our belief, refined. We have to make it right. If our belief is right, then automatically the knowledge which has brought us to that right belief will make us to go for the conduct which makes us happy, the charitra which makes us. So Ratnatraya, Darshan Gyan Charitrani Moksha Marga, that is the only path which takes us to happiness. Right? And happiness is not a place. We're not going to go to somewhere. It's just the by understanding everything correctly, the happiness comes to us. We start experiencing happiness. Yes? Okay.
We have one question from
Yes,
Poonam
thank you
ji.
so much, sir.
Yes, Govinji.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to ask something which everyone else seems to understand, but which always confuses me. Because every lecture I hear says you start with faith and then go on to knowledge, and then, of course, do the charitra. But my logical mind is telling me that that I start with the knowledge, and if I have some knowledge and understanding, then I go on to faith, and then of course the charitra comes. Now, can you help me understand that?
You are very right in what you're saying. That is the process. See, uh, everything will start from the inquiry, right? Even if I'm believing in something, first I need to know what I'm believing. So without knowledge, we are jeev. That's what we said first thing. The inquiry came now. Why are we even discussing about faith or science or philosophy? Because
Yeah.
we are the know. We are filled with. So knowledge is the basic trait of a jeev. I cannot not know. I'm always knowing. So I know, then what I know, I contemplate it, and then I create a belief on what I know. So you're right.
Okay.
Knowledge takes us to the belief, but it's only after I have believed will I be using that knowledge. If I do not see, I gave you a treasure map, and I told you that if you follow this map, you will get a treasure, and you will not need to work in your life then anymore. Will you take that map and you'll start directly for that expedition to that treasure hunt? You have map, it has all
No.
the instructions, you can read, and I've told you what it will give you. Will you
Mhm.
start the expedition?
No.
You will contemplate, and when you're sure that yeah, this is the right map, what he says makes sense, then only you will start walking. So what I told you was knowledge. What you did was creating belief on that knowledge. And when you believed, then you decided whether to go to the expedition or tear down that map and throw it away and tell me to shut up. That's what you will do. So
Yeah.
the basic action maker is your belief. It's not the knowledge. Knowledge is the data.
Okay.
Belief will tell you what action to take on that data, whether to believe it and act upon it or to not believe it and throw it. Understood? So therefore,
Yes.
believing is important. Without belief, no actions are done, no actions are taken. Therefore, the real actionable trait of the soul is when it believes. If I believe that drinking that juice will take me to heaven, I'll drink it. He has told me that if you drink this juice, I have not drank it until I've believed him what he's saying. So the real culprit is belief. If I can test and keep my belief in check, I can save myself from a lot many troubles.
So does that mean that, say, if I'm starting on the path of understanding the self, or anything. I need to start with study first and then the belief. Because you are saying
That's
Dastan Moolam Dhammam. So should it be
yes.
Jnanam Moolam Dhammam then? No?
No.
Okay.
Gyan alone will be of no use
Okay.
until
I
you
okay.
believe what you know.
Right.
So
Okay.
knowing alone is not sufficient.
Okay. Yeah.
A professor who is teaching Jainism in university, it is possible that he's a brilliant professor. He teaches everything, he knows everything about Jainism. But does he derive the pleasure out of learning about the soul and all these things that are mentioned? No, because he does not believe. If you do not believe in what you say, it means nothing. You're just the transistor, you're just the radio, you're just the FM, you're just the TV which is speaking. It's not so without believing, knowledge is of no use. So no, belief is what gives meaning to knowledge.
Thank you so much. That's much clearer. Thank you very much.
Do we have any further questions? I guess we are done. So let me just quickly share the accessible points. So you guys can email us if you have any queries, support@jeev.net.in. Other social media handles are also shared. Anubhav bhaiya Jinwani Stuti.
Okay, let's do Jinwani Stuti. निज निधि निज में बताई यह अनंत उपकार है उसके लिए जिनवाणी माँ को वंदना शत बार है उसके लिए जिनवाणी माँ को वंदना शत बार है
No by
And
Damukar.
that's